Linguistic meaning of Sharia is a path that leads to water. It does not refer to law in the state sense alone. When states criminalize Sharia, that literally means I can't pray anymore. Because my prayer is part of Sharia. It's part of my obeying divine legislation. It's not synonymous with heads flying off and hands flying off and crazy things that happen around the world. There's a component of it that's government-based, and there's a component of it that's individual-based. So it's about your own personal practice. Now, if you're living in a non-Muslim country, Sharia means that it's part of your being a good Muslim, it's part of your being a good citizen, it's part of your practicing and maintaining identity, and so on and so forth. At the state level, Sharia law is not synonymous with criminal law. What's criminal law is known as hudud, and hudud is the penal code of Islam, and so on and so forth. That part of Sharia, which is a very, very small part, very misunderstood, very much so taken out of context. I mean, everything from stoning to beheadings to cutting, all this stuff that's been presented to the world in a horrific fashion due to the agendas that we see overseas. That is actually not Sharia law. Criminal law in and of itself is a very small portion of it. If we read the Bible, we could find stoning, we could find these types of things, right?
Very harsh code and things like that.
Right, very harsh punishments and things of that sort. In Islam, these laws were purely discretionary. So actually in the first 1,000 years of Islam, actually not 400 years, there's not a single incident from the time of the Prophet Muhammad onwards of a person being stoned because they got caught committing adultery. So there is a stoning punishment that's there, but it's a discretionary punishment because the conditions to punish someone, to prosecute someone with stoning were so impossible, even from the way that it was practiced over history. It was not meant to be something that takes place right and left and so on and so forth. So as a Muslim here in America, what Sharia is, to me, is literally just practicing my faith. Does it mean that I'm not able to abide by the laws of my land, or that I believe in a separate set of laws? Absolutely not, because as long as there's no contradiction between the laws of my land and my personal practice, as long as the laws of my land don't stop me from personally practicing my faith, then I'm actually obligated as a Muslim to obey those laws. So this hysteria that's been created suddenly, that this small group of people, less than 1% of your population in the United States, are all secretly trying to push a different set of laws, and that America in 20 years is going to be people being thrown off of buildings and hands being cut and people being beheaded in the streets and so on and so forth. First of all, it's a culture war, which is very common. So we've had those. It's been done against various minorities. Second of all, it's complete nonsense. It riles up a significant portion of the population, unfortunately, that are afraid. It capitalizes on their fears to fight a non-existent threat at the expense of the safety of that small Muslim community that exists here in the United States.